Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And I got to tell you, the sun is out. The birds are singing. It's why I'm wearing yellow. We've got NFL preseason today. We're 28 days away from NFL kickoff. I got the FedEx St. Jude off to my left. A lot going on, a slightly smaller MLB slate, but we got MLB picks for you as well. Let's see how we did yesterday. Speaking of MLB picks, we go 2-2. Sniper goes 1 for 2. He misses one plus money play, but he hits the other plus money play. A-Mags hits the Dodgers, and we lose our SportsLine pick. We were going with the Rangers again at plus money. 3 out of 4 of these picks were plus 110 or longer. You love to see that. 2-2. Maybe made you a couple of cents with some of that plus money, but at the end of the day, 2-2 is not where we want to be. Steve Folkerts, Christian Hastings, Achilles CLE fan, thanks for being in here. Let's bring in the stars of the show. We got Calvin Wetzel. We got some WNBA. We got a late game tonight. We got Mike McClure, who I know has to get out of here soon. But, Mike, before we get to your pick, your golf pick, and I know you've got some racing to do. Larry, I got to ask you, how psyched are you? You came in here last week for the Hall of Fame game. You absolutely smashed a no-doubter with your pick. You got to be excited about NFL preseason in general. Do you have another NFL preseason pick today? Just curious.
I do see it. We've got 3 games on the slate. And what's interesting about the preseason, when they've shortened it to 3 games, coaches are taking it a different approach. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase are going to be out there. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones are going to be out there. We're seeing some better players in these preseason games. There's a lot more intrigue. We'll talk about the matchups, and I do have a play I really love.
All right. Bo Connor says 37 likes, which is actually pretty decent for 2 minutes into the show. But he says, hey, let's get to 70 real quick. Bo, thank you for the help on that. Ryan, Joshua, Brian, it was somebody, it must have been Farzad. I don't remember who it was. Somebody said Darryl Green days away from NFL season. Let us know who your favorite 28 is, because there's a lot of good ones to choose from. Mike, we got to get you in and out of here. I'm watching the golf right now. Some low scores early. Matt Fitzpatrick birdies his first 3. Probably not shocking to most. I'm not on him this week, but let's talk about who you are on today.
Give me Victor Hovland here. See, I know you like Victor Hovland a little bit this week. I certainly do. I'd like him to get off to a hot start here. I played his round score under at even money currently, 68.5. While I do agree that 68.5 should be the number, I think he should be minus 135, like some of the other players that I have him profiled similarly to in this particular setup. For example, think about a guy like Justin Thomas. His number is minus 125. I would profile them very similar. I would price them very similar. Victor Hovland, someone who's had a little bit of success in Memphis, has some personal ties to the area via his team. The thing that I like about Victor Hovland, though, is we talk about approach play all the time, right? So on the early wedge, whether you guys are talking the DFS side, the betting side, whatever it may be, just the live recaps, always going to hear us talking about approach play. That is where Victor Hovland really separates himself from his peers. I love the second shot on this golf course for Victor Hovland. Typically, you'd be worried when you get to a bunch of water holes. We have water in play on 11 holes here. Not a concern for me, though. Again, I think he's very comfortable here in this particular setup. Love him going under his round score. This requires a -2 or better round here. I think he's ultimately sitting 3 or 4 under by the end of the day.
Mike, part of the reason I love this is we see some players already going low early, and the conditions are really good. Yes, it's going to be hot all day, but it's not like the wind is going to kick up later on in the day. I like Victor Hovland. He's one of my first-round leaders, which is why I hope guys like Fitzpatrick and Dietrich and Harry Hall, who I know is a guy you like, start to just kind of not backpedal, but not go super nuclear. But I think Hovland's got a shot at a really low score.
So I think he does see it, and it just reminded me there, when you put out all your first-round leaders, I want you or someone in the chat maybe that plays them all to just simply start tracking. I mean, you cannot be a first-round leader without going under your individual round score.
Yeah,
I'd love to see what the results would look like if you started pairing, some sort of scaling the unit to an individual round score under, and really start returning your stake on some of those first-round leaders too.
Yeah, totally agree. I know I had 4 first-round leaders. One was kind of a long shot with Chris Kirk, but Victor Hovland was one of the 3 with Burns and Fleetwood. I wanted to fit some others in there, but it's only a 69-person field. I would say Hovland, of those 3 or 4 that I gave, the 4 that I gave out, Hovland is probably my favorite to attack pins and give up a low score for round 1. Mike, I know you do have to get out of here. Any final thoughts or parting words for us?
Just good luck today. I like Larry's preseason look, by the way. Don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't bet preseason football. It definitely has a lot of edges if you're willing to put the work in, and I know the Maestro has on this one. So
yeah, well, certainly you and the Maestro and Calvin always willing to put the work in. Have fun the rest of your day, Mike, and we'll see you very soon, my friend.
see you guys.
All right. Larry Hartstein, you definitely put the work in. I cannot tell you how excited I am for the NFL, but we don't want to upstage Calvin and the WNBA. Calvin, you're going to make us stay up late tonight. And good news, I was going to stay up late anyway. I think we got one late MLB game. We got one late preseason game, but we've got a couple of late WNBA games, including the Sun and the Sparks. Please tell me, Calvin, that we're rooting for points, that if I'm going to stay up late, I can stay up late rooting for some fun.
We are going to root for points in this one. Sia, Sparks versus Sun, over 174.5. And we talked about it on the show the other day. If you're not a night owl, you get to wake up and have that good feeling when you first wake up and hopefully cash a bet, right? This is a very high line, obviously in the mid 170s, but the last Sparks game was the highest line of any game this WNBA season, 179.5, and it still went over. So the Sparks, I'm not really concerned with them. They're 19-8 on the over this season, which 2/3 of the way through the season to be almost 60% on overs is pretty remarkable. They've always been a fast offensive team, but honestly, this bet is more about the Sun for me. When you look at how they've been playing, starting the year up to now, first year head coach Rashid Mezian started the year, came in and they were more of a half court oriented team. In May, they were ranked 11th out of 13 in pace. In June, they were ranked 8th. July, that was 6th. And now August so far, about a week in, only a few games, they're ranked 1st in the league in pace. He has realized that with this personnel, they need to start pushing the tempo and playing faster. And that has played out every progressive month of the season to going from one of the slowest teams in the league to one of the fastest teams in the league now as of late. And so you get them up against the Sparks team that, like I said, has been fast and much better on offense than defense the whole season. And you have a recipe for points. And these are still two of the bottom 3 defenses in the league when you look at defensive ratings. So I don't think either of them are going to be able to stop the other offense. Like you said, we're rooting for points tonight, over 174.5 in this one.
All right, we're rooting for points. You love to see it. I'm going to have my eye on that game. This is going to be a fun night in general, mostly because I do feel like the Hall of Fame game is one thing, but just having the NFL back, it feels like it's back when you've got like the first round of preseason games. I watched Hard Knocks. Larry, did you see the first episode of Hard Knocks?
I didn't. How was it?
Well, I hate to be that guy. I really do. I thought it was really underwhelming. You know how the first scene from the first season, and maybe people have tailed off with Hard Knocks. It's a little bit of a different experience than it was, let's say, 10, 12 years ago. But usually the very first scene, Calvin, I don't know if you're into Hard Knocks, is like pretty powerful. You got the coach yelling at a player or something, or yelling at the room, or there's something like impactful happening. I just thought it was a very, just subdued first episode, first few scenes. I wasn't super into it, but it has a chance to recover.
What is your favorite Hard Knocks moment? I think mine it was Rex Ryan saying, yelling at the team and saying, "Now let's go get a freaking snack."
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'd have to think of my favorite moment, but that was one of the best Hard Knocks by far, with Mike Tannenbaum, who I met a few years ago, super nice guy. But Mike Tannenbaum, Rex Ryan, I remember that opening scene was Antonio Cromartie was a part of that opening scene, and it was really funny. He was talking about his children, and it was just kind of a bit of a funny moment. But there are some really good Hard Knock scenes, most of them, kind of from yesteryear. But let's get to, I guess we got to get to more picks here. We can, if you have a Hard Knocks moment, please put it in the chat. I do want to remind everybody, BetMGM, they always have these promos. Literally every day, it seems. BetMGM account holders will receive a no-sweat token to apply to any bet on any sport. That means if your bet loses, you get a bonus bet back only at BetMGM. I say they've got bonus stuffs and tokens and stuff like that every day. It's multiple. And I got to stress this about BetMGM, which, by the way, my golf pick that I'm about to give out, the best number is at BetMGM. But the multiplicity of promos that they have that they kind of put right directly in front of your face when you're at the betting window, I just really like how they do that. So I'm just putting that out there for everybody. Let's get to our SportsLine picks. We got SportsLine picks that involve baseball. It's a short slate. We got Mitchell Parker under 17.5 ounce at -135. That one courtesy of Prop Stars. We got Logan Gilbert to record a win at -110. That one from Matt Severance. And the A's run line at +125. That one courtesy of Bruce Marshall. So many more picks on the SportsLine site. We got to get to our home run props. We got to get to my golf pick for this afternoon, my second, because obviously I gave one out yesterday as well. And Larry, after the break, we're going to get to your NFL preseason pick. We'll hear it all right after this message from our partners.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And Jeff Stenberg says, I thought Hard Knocks was a documentary of Devin Williams' season. Jeff Stenberg always delivers. If you have WNBA questions, please put them in the chat. I see Daniel Greer, Calvin, says, love Kelsey Plum over 29.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -106. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that one as well. This is from that same game that I like the over in. So I think a lot of overs are going to be good. And even though we have a spread close to double digits, 9.5 now, it was 11.5. So it's moving. I think this game stays close enough for long enough that she's going to get a lot of minutes. So I do think she gets to 30.
Talk to me about Brad Morris's question. I don't know if you've seen it. It says, I like Azura Stevens. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Over 13.5 at even money. He says, Brink is coming back and starting to eat into her minutes, but lines haven't adjusted yet.
Yeah, well, I like that over as well. Again, another over from this game. And when you look at Cameron Brink's minutes, they honestly haven't been eating into Stevens' minutes as much as sort of the fringe rotation players. She's playing 13 to 15 minutes a game since she came back. And Stevens is still upper 20s, but you have basically those Emma Cannon and players like that who were playing maybe 10 minutes a game that are now basically not getting on the court. So I still think Stevens does get enough minutes to clear that.
Okay. Eric Davis. So Larry, I was going to go to you next, but Eric David has a question. He says, Counselor, by the way, Eric David's the one that coined Counselor of Cash. For those of you that don't know, when we were first coming up with nicknames for me, this is many years ago, we put it out there. Hey, does somebody have something for Sia? Maybe tie in the attorney thing. It was Eric David that came up with Counselor of Cash. So credit to him for that. And credit to him for this, because he says Grillo -105 over Kevin Yu. Well, this man is very bright. He's reading my mind. This is the matchup I was going to bring to you. It's a round 1 2-ball. I will say the best number, and this isn't always the case, by the way, but the best number happens to be at BetMGM. Grillo -105. You can get this at -110 over at DraftKings. You can get it -115 over at FanDuel. But again, -105 is the number I want to grab, obviously. This is interesting because I would have thought that Grillo would be like a -120 favorite, especially with the form that he's got coming in here. Kevin Yu's a fine player, and he's a great ball striker. He's longer than Emiliano Grillo, and certainly might give himself some more scoring opportunities than Emiliano Grillo. And I'm seeing a ton of scoring opportunities already. We got 3 guys right now at 3 under: Dietrich, Akshay Bhatia, Harry Hall through 6. Dietrich's only through 4 at 3 under. But with that said, I think Kevin Yu's likely to find a little bit more trouble as well. They're both relatively accurate off the tee, but I don't love Kevin Yu's incoming form. He's missed a number of cuts. Emiliano Grillo, while he hasn't been necessarily top 10 in tournaments, he's been very steady, and I expect him to be steady, particularly in round 1. He tends to fade later on in tournaments, kind of like the Chris Kirk experience a little bit lately. But I think Emiliano Grillo is coming in with much better form. He's just as good of a course fit. He can't be terrible with the putter. But outside of that, I think this should be -120 Grillo's way. So I was really surprised I'd be able to get a -105 or even a -110. So give me this round 1 2-ball. Yesterday, I gave out Chris Kirk over Tony Finau, -125. I did tell you the best number was over at DK for that one. That number still exists over at DK, and that matchup has not gone off yet. In fact, Grillo and the Kirk matchup are 2 of the last ones to go off this afternoon. So you still have time to play both. All right, Eric David, thank you for that setup. Now, Larry, we get to some NFL preseason football.
Yeah, the line moves on some of these games are very dramatic because when coaches come out and announce what is going to happen with their starters or their quarterbacks, and we saw it with Colts Ravens, I was late to the party. I was looking at the Colts 1.5, 2.5. Anyway, it's 6.5 now because Anthony Richardson will play the first quarter and a half, followed by Daniel Jones. We know Lamar Jackson's not going to play. but the Ravens will have Cooper Rush, a very capable backup, and that's why I am going over 6.5 points in the first quarter on DK minus 148. Check to see if this is moving. This is what I bet this morning. I wouldn't play it over minus 160, and so far DK is one of the only books I'm seeing that's offering a first quarter total. But if you followed the joint practices this week and you saw some of the highlights of A.D. Mitchell absolutely torching the Ravens, every single corner on the Ravens, he was talking trash. There was a lot of big play potential. And Anthony Richardson, you could say what you want about his first 2 years. He's only 23 years old, and he still has a ton of potential and an incredible arm. So I just love the potential of that Colts offense, which we saw this week during the joint practice. They had no problem moving up and down the field against the Ravens. And on the other side, Cooper Rush, a very capable backup, and Keaton Mitchell is going to play. This guy averaged over 8 yards a carry a couple of years ago, came back from a serious injury last year. Now he looks like the old Keaton Mitchell. If you watch some of the practice reports on him this week, he was a guy breaking through gaps relentlessly. There's also punt returners who are very explosive, who they said could have taken one to the house in that joint practice. So I just love this to go over 6.5 in the first quarter. I was looking at the Colts. I do think they're going to win this game because of both Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones playing well in the first half. But the line got out of hand for me. So I'm going with the total over 6.5 in the first.
Yeah, I like this. Can I ask you something about this Colts division here? Because I'm pretty big on the Texans to win the division, and it's really a process of elimination thing for me. I understand the Texans have some issues on offense, on offensive line, at the offensive line position. In particular, no more Laramie Tunsil. It was shaky as it was, but I do like the defense. I like C.J. Stroud well enough. I do think the wild card in this division, you might disagree because I tend to remember you liking Jacksonville a little bit. I'm not really on them, but I think the wild card is the Colts. It's a formidable defense. I mean, the offense is such an unknown because of Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Like, I don't know what to expect there, but they're plus 370 to win the division. Do you think the Colts are going to have any impact whatsoever this season in terms of like contending for the division?
You know, I was kind of wishy-washy on the Colts, but then when I was watching a lot of the stuff this week and listening to guys like Rick Venturi, who's close to the organization, and they have Lou Anarumo as their new defensive coordinator, and he has some pieces to work with, unlike in Cincinnati where he didn't have any pieces the last couple of years. So they're talking about a much more aggressive defense instead of that just sit back in the zone and let them catch. You know, Rick Venturi pointed out they were 17-17 the last couple of years. They're not that far away.
Mm-hmm.
If Anthony Richardson can just take the next step, or if it's Daniel Jones and he plays like it was a couple of years ago, this could be a very interesting team. So I think it's a fascinating division because, yes, I think Jacksonville's offense is going to take a major step forward. And we know how great the Texans defense is. So, yeah, it is a fascinating division, even though people like to make fun of it and say, you know, it's such a bad division.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a great division. That's a completely fair argument, but it's not necessary. I mean, it's interesting to me. My money would be on the Texans here, not on the Jags, but I think the Colts are very interesting. Larry, go ahead.
I saw a comment in the chat about how dominant the Ravens have been in the preseason. They won, 23 straight in a row. And I know RJ has a pick on the Ravens for the full game. If you're in the Discord, plus 6.5. He has a whole write-up on how the Ravens have never lost in the preseason by more than 6.5, basically, under Harbaugh. But that dominance has not been the same the last year or so, especially when you're down to 3 preseason games. It has not been the same like it was before. So I'm not worried about that in terms of early in the game. I think the Colts are going to have success.
I believe it was the Commanders who broke the streak in last year's preseason. And everybody was like laughing at the Commanders celebrating. They're like, you're still the Commanders. And then the Commanders just stomped on basically everybody outside of the Eagles in the NFC. Let's see. Jeff Stenberg with the amazing profile picture, by the way, says Jacksonville's winning that division with Travis Hunter seeing 80% of offensive snaps. They might have the best wide receiver duo in that division. I mean, I don't know how good Travis Hunter is going to be at receiver this year. I mean, I love Brian Thomas Jr. I think if you're looking at Brian Thomas Jr. props, if you're looking at him in fantasy, I would be willing to reach for him, even though I don't like the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, very much. Any thoughts on this duo, Jeff Stenberg's comments here, Larry?
It's going to be exciting. You know, they have a new age offensive mind, Liam Cohen, who just got a career year out of Baker Mayfield, 4,500 yards. You know, this is Trevor Lawrence's chance, to finally kind of recapture what everyone thought he could be. So, yeah, very excited for that offense.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I'm sure he's going to be better. I'm sure he's going to be better, but it's not going to be like a Baker Mayfield situation. Calvin, I think there's a couple WNBA questions that I want to come back to you on, but I got to give Ricardo Hernandez a shout out here. He says, "Good morning, Early Edge fam. Update on my dad's birthday yesterday. Played the live show for my family yesterday, and they loved the birthday wishes, got everyone emotional. Thanks again, Early Edge fam." So if you recall, Ricardo's father has passed away. It was his birthday yesterday, his father's birthday yesterday, Jesus Hernandez. We gave him a shout out. Ricardo, thanks for getting back in here and sharing this experience with us. So yeah, that's really cool that you followed up, and I'm glad everybody got something out of what we discussed yesterday. All right, Calvin, we have a follow-up, or not a follow-up. We have a question from D. Johnson. He says, thoughts on Jordan Canada over 5.5 assists or Plum over 5.5 assists?
Yeah, so it looks like you're trying to parlay that, if I'm reading that correctly. And we talked about Plum. I do love Plum, all those overs. And with Jordan Canada, yeah, she came off that injury early in the season, was kind of ramping up her minutes in the low 20s. And since she got to 30 plus minutes, she's over that in 11 of 13 since then. So I think that's a good look as well.
All right. Jeff Stenberg says, Sia hates Trevor, ? Way to spread positivity today, counselor. I've been saying that since he was at Clemson, by the way, and that's very much recorded. And so far, so good on that prediction. All right, let's see. Do we have any other questions before we get to the...
Hey, didn't he win a national championship?
Yeah, but he was like getting bailed. Like, I just didn't think he was that good. Like, you can win national championships as a college quarterback and not be good in the NFL. Let's remember Tim Tebow, but so many other quarterbacks, running backs, you got a stacked team helping you out. And I mean, I could think of 1,000 examples. It's just, even his first national championship, his receivers were bailing him out and everybody was saying, oh, what a beautiful throw. And it was like, it wasn't on target, but he had amazing receivers. Anyway. Jeff Stenberg says he's out on me. All right, let's get to Camilo Cardoso, double-doubles, even money. Let's do one more WNBA question, Calvin.
Yeah, well, no Angel Reese again, and Cardoso has had 7 straight double-doubles. Angel Reese has been out the last several games. It probably should have been 8 straight going back 8 games ago. She had the rebounds and she had 8 points, but that was on 12 shot attempts, which you give her 12 shot attempts, she's going to get double-digit points 9 times out of 10. But that was against this Atlanta team who she's playing tonight, the last time she didn't have a double-double. But with 7 straight and no Angel Reese again, I do think you got to take it at plus 100. All
right, fair enough. Good questions. Good WNBA questions. Let's go back to to Major League Baseball. I got to get this home run chart out there because it's been so hot. Don't forget, if you're following these, I mean, it's been really crazy what this SportsLine model and in the Inside the Lines group is accomplishing here. Tyler Soderstrom, he hit one yesterday too. I mean, it's just, we're on a roll here. Kyle is it Stowers? Plus 290 versus plus 360. Cal Raleigh plus 216 versus plus 265. And Brent Rooker plus 270 versus plus 285. Not some of the value we saw yesterday, but certainly some differences here in these three. So these are our top MLB home run plays. And I think that will wrap it up. I'm looking at some of the comments, Larry. People think I just hate rookie quarterbacks. That's not true. I just hate the rookie quarterbacks that are completely overrated. And it happens every year. And oh, by the way, Cam Ward, also overrated. He's not going to do what you think he's going to do, Titans fans, at least not this year, maybe not next. They need a lot around him. That's my prediction there. All right, let's get to the recap screen before we get out of here. I got Emiliano Grillo today, this afternoon, minus 105 over Kevin Yu in a round 1 2-ball. And don't forget my Kirk over Finau 2-ball, which has not gone off yet either. Victor Hovland, round 1, under 68.5 strokes at even money. Colts Ravens over 6.5 points. First quarter, says Larry Hartstein. That's minus 148. And then we got the Sun Sparks over 174.5 at minus 110. We get to our SportsLine picks. We got Mitchell Parker under 17.5 outs, courtesy of Prop Stars. That's minus 135. Logan Gilbert to record a win, minus 110, says Matt Severance. And the Athletics, minus 1.5 run line, plus 125, says Bruce Marshall. And we got our MLB home run picks. Kyle Stowers, like towers. Cal Raleigh, Brent Rooker. Those are our 3 top MLB home run plays per the SportsLine model. Oh, what a great show. A lot of WNBA today, a lot of NFL talk, which means NFL is absolutely back. Certainly some golf talk where you'll see that tomorrow. You'll see soccer tomorrow. You'll see a lot more at Major League Baseball tomorrow and some NFL as well. BPE Friday is going to be absolutely fantastic. A big thank you to Larry, a big thank you to Calvin, a big thank you to all of you in the chat. I see you, Liddy, KC3, Rick, who I haven't seen in this chat before, Jay Soldier 23. Thanks everybody for being in here, hitting the like button. A big thank you to Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great Thursday. Let's have a positive recap screen tomorrow. Let's have a positive mindset for the rest of the day. We rest our case.